What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Volume. I'm your host, Jayden, and we also have our other two hosts here today, as always.
Yes, Logan.
Yes, Nathan.
What? Bro, we could have said and, but.
No, I thought it was funny.
Well,
Good start, good start.
So, what's the topic today, G?
so today's topic, switching it up a bit, we're gonna go bad versus good adaptations, and
Not just anime.
not just anime. So for the viewers, a little bit of some of the background stuff. We originally had it as just anime adaptations, but I think within the past hour or two, I was like, I'm gonna make it a little bit more broader because it's kind of some other types of media that kind of take stuff from manga as well. I was like, oh, there's been some good and there's also been some bad adaptations for it.
There's
So-
been some real stinkers.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yes.
But before we get into that, let's kind of just get a catch up on what everyone's been doing the past week or so, or however long it's been.
Literally 7 days.
Yeah.
Oh,
1
well,
week.
it's been exactly
To the
Exactly.
time.
We do this the
To
same
the
time
second.
every week.
Well, I don't know if they know that. Well, now they know.
Now they know.
Now they
Now
know.
they know. So,
What have you been up to?
Logan, you want to go first?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go first.
I'll go last. I'm the one hosting this today, so I'll be the last one.
Okay, my bad.
So actually, Wednesday into Thursday, I was binging Scott Pilgrim Takes Off on Netflix, and that show was actually really good. The way they set up the first episode, it makes you think that it's just going to be a retelling of the movie, but in an anime or animated style. But it's only the first episode because there's a plot twist when Scott fights Matthew Patel in the bar, in the bar, and the whole rest of the show is completely different from what the movie is, and it was pretty epic.
That's pretty
So,
exciting.
highly
I,
recommend
Pretty
it.
good.
I don't know if it follows the comic more or if it's its own thing. I think it's more of its own thing, though.
I don't even know what happens in the comic. What happens in the comic?
I think the comic came first out of all of 3 of those.
I'd assume.
And
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah, it did.
because I haven't read or watched Scott Pilgrim. I just know I vibe with it.
Oh, well, that's a movie we need to watch then, because
Yep,
that
yep.
movie is great. And it's a very
Maybe a
good
movie.
adaptation.
Put it on the reading list. Put it on the reading list.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So is that it, Logan?
Yeah,
That's
anything
all you
else?
pretty much
Yeah,
had for the week?
that's pretty
That's
much
all
what
he's
I've
done.
done.
He's been
Well,
strapped to his
that's-
chair watching Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah,
What about you,
Saturday,
Nate?
Sunday.
I've been playing a lot of Marvel's Spider-Man. That video game is insanely good. I knew those games were good because I have played Miles Morales when I first got my PS5. Just because it was like one of the launch titles.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know how good the game was until I got my hands on it. Like, it is... I try to go out of my way to, like, not only play indie games, but, like, I like playing indie games because, like, they tend to have just a kind of different flavor of care put into them compared to some of the other AAA slop nowadays. But, man, Sony Interactive kind of has that shit on lock. Like, they just...
Well, it's Insomniac, to be specific.
Insomniac, yeah.
Not
Well,
every
no,
Sony
because
game is a banger.
They got God of War and
Horizon.
Thank you. I was gonna say
Ghosts,
Forbidden
yeah.
West. And those games are also really good. So like, they just kind of know what they're doing. I mean, they were Game of the Year, Astrobot.
Yep.
That's true.
Uh,
Sure.
Their version of Mario. At the end of the day.
Spider-Man's great. I've always been a fan of Spider-Man. I like this rendition of Peter Parker. I really enjoy Miles Morales. Like, I think he's a really cool character. I really enjoyed that game. So going back and playing the first game in the trilogy, and prepping myself to play the new Spider-Man 2 that just dropped on PC. Pretty excited.
Have you
uh,
watched Spider-Verse?
I have not.
Oh my god.
My
add it to the
only
wheel.
take, or my only take, my only exposure to Miles has been through the Miles Morales game, and he's already my favorite Spider-Man. So
Hmm.
I'm excited to watch the movies at some point for sure.
Well, you haven't met Peter Porker yet. I think he
Oh,
might be
yeah.
All
your
right, well,
favorite.
I've been on the
Oh, the
internet,
British
so crazy. Besides that, just doing a lot of video editing still for the comic dub. We're kind of on a downswing right now for working on storyboards, for the main story for DU. So I haven't really been doing a lot of freelance stuff. So it's really just been being able to enjoy myself with the Spider-Man game and getting in some video editing a couple hours a day where I can.
Nice.
Nice. So for me,
Oh yeah, I forgot Jayden is
yeah,
part of the
I was
podcast.
waiting, and then
He's
So,
going
uh,
last.
for me, I've started playing The Last of Us, the remastered version on PS5. So that game is brilliant. Like
Yeah,
probably
Last
like
of Us
top
is
5
great.
games.
To specify too, he's playing the like HD remaster
Yeah,
that
on my PS4.
Wii U had, like on your dad's piece. Yeah, not
Yeah,
not the
that's why I
part
said
one.
that's a good one. 'Cause-
That is a banger. It's an insanely fun game.
It's also my first time playing through Last of Us, because even though I had a PS4, didn't really play it. Because like most of the time, having console was more for like sports games. But now it's kind of been like branching out more into like the story games for the most part, which I've enjoyed.
yeah,
yeah,
I have some
Last of Us.
recommendations I can give you.
Is like amazing. Other than that, I tried reading some more Monster this week. I had a real big issue as the website I used didn't work, so I had some trouble reading it this week, but I'll catch up.
He'll get there. He'll get
And
there.
anime wise, just I watched Sakamoto Days, so I'm all caught up on that, waiting for tomorrow's episode. And
It's
then
pretty good.
I've only watched One Piece, haven't touched anything else, just because of time.
I mean, you
So-
did more than me in terms of
Yeah, oh, dude,
watching.
watched just Scott Pilgrim, so you're already
Yeah.
on the top.
Well,
of the leaderboard.
I watched one episode of
Oh, then
Sakamoto
I did
Days,
more than you in
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
because I've been caught up with Sakamoto Days.
I
yeah.
caught up on Daima. That was I
On
kind of
Dragon
forgot
Ball
I did
Daima.
that. Yeah, that series is really good. It's pretty.
Worth it?
Yes, I think it's. I think the term "it's better than Super" has been thrown about by literally everybody, but it's saying that for a reason. Like it is really good.
So I started watching it, but I wanted to watch the dub, just because like I've watched all of Dragon Ball dubbed.
Yeah. If you
So
like the lore of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, then you'll insanely appreciate
Yeah.
the effort they went through on this one.
Gotcha.
Good send off by Toriyama for sure.
Kind of sets up our topic for today, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Bad versus good adaptations. So I know, Logan, you kind of had kind of some notes on like what you think makes like a good versus bad adaptation.
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah.
you wanna-
So I'll go through those really quick. Well, not really quick, but if anyone has anything they would like to add on any of these points, then feel free. But I'll do what makes a bad adaptation first.
Well,
I
what
think
is
the
it? What
big-
is an adaptation? What
Well-
what do we consider an adaptation?
I consider a source material being converted into a different type of media. So,
Yeah,
anime
that's what I would
being
say.
turned into a game, manga being turned into an anime, or for Scott Pilgrim's case, comic being turned into a movie, and then comic being turned into a show.
Even anything with the Marvel stuff.
I don't. wanna
Yeah,
think about
exactly.
it.
So, that's my... I didn't look up the dictionary definition of adaptation, but in my opinion, my, headcanon, that is what an adaptation is.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Sounds about right.
I know, kind of just go a bit off topic. I know, it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Nee watched Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time,
Yes, I did actually.
and that was funny. After we finished watching the movie, we started going through like how like each character and
we
Marvel have like,
we went on like an hour long rant about more than an hour long, just
oh
ranting
yeah,
about like how Marvel has mishandled like
there's
these
like too many
characters and
like
these
starting
comics and
points,
stuff.
but
Yeah.
that could be for another episode. Maybe
The
we can talk
Marvel
about Western
episode.
media.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put that on the list.
Put
Yeah.
all of
Put
Marvel
it
on the reading list.
Oh
No,
God.
not on the reading list, not on the reading list. But
On the watch list.
so I can. So we're pretty much both in agreement, right, Nate, with Logan's kind of like definition,
Yeah.
adaptation. So what makes a good adaptation? What do you guys like? Like, what do you think is a good adaptation? Like, what makes a good adaptation, or what makes a bad one?
I think
Yeah.
a good adaptation is when they incorporate the key parts of the source material in a way that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So adding like adding characters or taking out certain characters, even if they're very minor, is very bad. And I think that, well, in most cases it's very bad. In some very small cases, it would make it a bit better. But in general, you want to keep it faithful while also being representative of the entire lore, if that makes sense, or the world that was built prior to you taking on the task of reshaping it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I understand that. There's like not I'm not going to spoil One Piece or anything, but I will say like the One Piece anime gets a nice little bonus of knowing what's going to happen prior to it happening. Like I guess
Yeah.
you could say Oda knows that too while he's writing it, but like the anime has seen like chapters and chapters ahead, so they're able to, for the most part, kind of like plan around stuff a bit better than
Yeah.
maybe just making a movie on something. We'll get into it. There's definitely
Yeah.
anime out there that came out in the past that should not have been made yet.
Yeah. I think
When they
for
did.
me, it's more of like trying to follow like the source material kind of like as closely as possible, especially for like a series that like is beloved by the fans. Like that definitely deserves it. And once you
Yeah.
start to like stray off a bit, that's kind of where you kind of get into like the bad territory.
I'm
I
happy
think-
to hear that.
Oh.
I just cause like I thought I was in the minority thinking that I would rather something be very faithful to the source material than taking risks on stuff.
Like
It's good to hear
listen,
that both of you feel the same way on that.
you can do some risks, but from what I've seen, a lot of the risks that have been made don't end up pretty good. You know what I mean? Like shows end up having like some issues.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's kind of
Yeah,
like with the
I-
whole thing with like is it Naruto? That like, oh, there's a lot of filler.
Insane amount of filler, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's like it's not really a risk. I understand like where like when they were making the anime where they were at, where it's like, oh, this has got to be a weekly show. Like, and it kind of does like, I'm not sure if because I never read the manga. Is there like time skips in it, going from like in between the arcs?
I don't think so.
Kind of feels like there's like
well,
nothing in between.
Sometimes.
Because I know like with One Piece is like the big time skip.
Mhm.
I think the anime does a pretty decent job. From what I've heard, it does like pretty decent job like explaining the time skip.
There is no filler in the One Piece anime
Yeah.
besides like one or two random arcs here and there.
It's like at the beginning, kind of where like
Yeah.
I'm at.
It's they do a really impressive job, and like for the most part, the filler that is in One Piece is really enjoyable.
So, well, that kind of goes into good adaptations. The One Piece in general, I think the anime is a good adaptation of the manga. Would you? I know like Nate, you're kind of like,
yes.
you're kind of like
I
the
am
expert
the
on
One
One
Piece
Piece.
expert. Yep.
You are
yep.
the out of the three of us. You are the One Piece expert. yeah.
I agree. I think like I said, I think when you add something, when you're making an adaptation, when you add something to the source material, from your ends, that it shouldn't change the overall message or pacing of the original material that
Yeah.
much, if at all. It should just kind of take the like themes and like general characters, like the interactions the characters have and stuff, and just kind of like recreate it. I know you're still on Sky Island, right, Jade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a filler arc right after Sky Island called G6,
Yeah.
I think, or G8, and
Yeah.
it is. People say it is like one of the best filler arcs of all time, just in general, not
Yeah.
even just for One Piece.
Because I know, like, I've
it
had
is
some
really fun.
people, like, I had done some research, and some people were like, "Oh yeah, you can just skip Skypiea," and other ones like, "No, you don't skip Skypiea because it sets up a lot
Yeah,
for the future."
I've
And I'm
never
like,
understood that argument of wanting to skip
listen,
Skypiea.
I understand,
that
like,
is,
there's some point in Skypiea I've kind of been like, okay, like, let's go,
yeah, for
like,
sure.
let's get going, like, come
It's
on,
a lot of lore, for sure, to take in.
yeah. But something, but then it's like, I get that point, but it's also like, as someone like I know one, like you know a lot about One Piece, and like my friend CJ, he's all caught up with One Piece. My
Skypiea
friend
has never
Mason,
been more relevant.
and it's like, yeah, it's like that's like you need to know, not like
Yeah.
need to, but like you get a lot of
No, you
information
do. Literally,
in
you need to
Skypiea.
know what happens in Skypiea. Same way you need to know what happens in Alabasta. Same way you need to know
Yeah.
what happens during Romance Dawn. Like, you don't
Yeah.
just skip around in a story like that.
Yeah, no.
I think
Um,
series like Naruto, like the anime, and putting in a ton of filler like that has...
Yeah.
And Bleach is, like, an offender of this, too. Like, it created a culture of, like, needing to skip or, like, needing to cut down content as little as possible to get people into it, but at the same time that's like people adapting, making their own like mini adaptations of what they think the content should be like consumed in rather than what the original intent is.
It's kind of like with the Pokemon series, where it's like they didn't really have anything to go based off of for the most part. Like they had the games. So like the route that like Ash would take, like the in especially season one, the route he took is what the route that we would take as players. Except like the whole
That
thing
is
was like
that's an
he loses
interesting.
Butterfree.
I didn't consider Pokemon as a topic choice. That is an
'Cause
interesting one.
It is an,
you're
at the end of the day,
going
it
from
is an
something that doesn't-
adaptation.
Yeah, you're going from something that doesn't have a lot of like source a lot of
Story-wise,
meat,
source
to
material.
work with, and like creating something out of it with what we do have, rather than taking something that is a very set in stone plot and then divvying off the path for some
Yeah.
reason.
See, like with Pokemon, that's something that I kind of see like, yeah, that's like a good adaptation of it because they did like a brilliant job keeping pretty much us engaged in it throughout all this, not like through all seasons because we had grown up with it,
Yeah.
but like whatever the seasons like we watched, like I remember like the Black and White season and the X and Y seasons.
Even the
Or
seasons I
season.
didn't grow up with, like
Those
I
were like
don't
the
watch
my
'em,
main two.
I'm in the know of the other seasons. Like
Yeah.
I have a vague idea of who the main character or characters are right
Oh,
now.
it's Ash. Oh, not anymore.
It's not. No.
Yeah,
Not anymore. Not anymore. But I don't think it's considered Pokemon. I think it has like a whole new name.
Is it?
It's like the new journey begins or something like that.
I don't know. Actually, that far, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. I feel like I just contradicted myself, but I actually don't know if that's the case. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah. And then going back to One Piece, because I didn't write down One Piece itself. I wrote down the live action.
Hmm.
Because I think they've done a pretty good job at least with the first season.
A live action One
knows?
Piece is like lightning in a bottle. Like that.
Who knows what's gonna happen in the second season? But the first season, I think it was pretty good. It was a
think
good
it was
adaptation.
also fantastic. I want to say that like it. What do you call an outlier? Jesus, I was like blanking for a second. It's an outlier in our argument, I think, because like it takes so many liberties to make One Piece work within a shorter amount of time and within
Yeah.
the constraints of working in live action,
Mm-hmm.
while still staying faithful to Oda's vision for the characters and like, how they would interact in certain situations and all that. There's definitely plot lines in the live action that I was like, I don't know if you guys needed to do this, but I kind of understand why. But I appreciate them. Like it's a good show. I enjoyed watching.
I think it's a good adaptation. Um, that's my first one. Logan, what do you have for your first good adaptation?
Mob Psycho 100.
Oh, what a
Because-
banger! Yeah.
So, I think it comes down to a lot of things in combination, but something that I had written down for what makes a bad anime adaptation is choosing the wrong studio for the art style of the manga, or just the stylization of the manga in general. Because if you read the Mob Psycho manga, the art is choppy and it's gritty in an endearing way. Like, it's meant to be that way for a reason. And the studio, I don't actually know which studio animated it, but they took the character designs and the shading style and everything about the manga and just altered them very slightly to make them more appealing for animation and also just a wider audience in general. And it worked like 1,000%. All the characters in Mob are insanely cool, and they're drawn very well and animated very well. So they chose the right studio, and they also, from what I know, stuck to the manga pretty faithfully. I don't think there was much filler, if any at all, in the anime, because it came out much farther along than the manga was, right?
I
have no
wouldn't
clue.
know.
I just don't think that they were releasing at the same time like many of the shonen.
Yeah, I think Mob Psycho was like, I don't know if it was done, but it was definitely near the end, I think.
Oh,
by the
yeah,
time the
no.
anime came out.
I don't think it was done either, but they just had a lot of time to work with and
Yeah.
put a lot of care into it.
It wasn't.
as-
They weren't pushing it as like a, this is going to be seasonal every year kind of thing, which I think ruined a lot of early anime.
Yeah, definitely. There's
So-
a ton of bad ones because
Yeah.
of that.
So
look at
it was the studio that made it was Bones.
Yeah,
They did
I
the
looked
Oh,
it
animation.
up as
yeah.
well. Bones made it.
Yeah.
Mob Psycho anime started in 2016, in July 2016. The manga ended in December 2017.
So
Oh,
yeah,
so
we
there
were
you
right
go.
on the money. That makes sense. I remember when it came out, listening to like video essays about parts of that series, and they were talking about like the manga is pretty much done, and they're interested to see like so
Yeah.
and so animated
Because like
and stuff.
the manga started in 2012. They kind of had like a 4 years of stuff to go
Mhm.
through. But no, I think Mob Psycho too. The way they use the color in that show too.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like manga doesn't
I don't know
have
how to
any color
explain it.
whatsoever, but
It
then
has,
they took
It's the way they do the color. It just like feels like if I was just like reading the manga and just like picturing it in color, that's what like how I would imagine the colors to look like.
So I feel like it falls into the same group as Pokemon, honestly, where the manga was, the story is the same, right? But like the art and the like detail of the pages aren't anywhere near as in depth as the anime itself. But because there was so little to work with, there was so much more that they could do with the material. Whereas there's plenty of things out there that'll like take something that is so set in stone and already like A, B, and C happens, and then they'll try to wedge in a D for no reason.
Mm. Yeah, definitely.
So Nate, what do you? Is that it, Logan, for Mob Psycho, or do you have?
No, that's my first. That's my first
Sure,
entry.
that's it from
into
Mob
good
Psycho?
adaptations. Yep.
Nate, what do you have for
I'm
your
gonna hit
first
us-
good one?
I'm gonna hit us with a bad one.
Ooh,
So-
we're switching up here.
Yeah. Logue said something along the lines of Mob Psycho's art style is done really well in the anime. Like, they are very faithful to the original style of the manga while still expanding on it and being able to do all the stuff that they do with it. There is a anime that came out very recently, within the last year or so, that had that opportunity, already nailed that, and they completely fudged it. Thank you, Adult Swim. I'm talking about Uzumaki.
Oh yes, I'd seen
Man,
some stuff about
that
being
I
bad.
that is one of the, like, I'm so depressed about that because, as first off, big Junji Ito fan. Love me some good horror stuff. I read through Uzumaki. I knew what was going to happen, and immediately, like, after the first episode was pretty good, I was a little worried. Next couple of episodes hit, and it's like, man, the most, like, it's like an essay on what not to do when you're making an anime. Just like taking multiple plot threads and shoving them all together in a very confined runtime when all these things aren't. I guess for anyone who doesn't know, Uzumaki is kind of like a collection of short stories that all happen in the same town with the same characters. But they don't all happen at the same time. The anime kind of had it play out like that for some reason. So it made the pacing make no sense whatsoever. None of the stories really got to have their, like, runtime or get to be creepy. There was no tension because there was just a bunch of, like, nonsense being thrown everywhere. And then the art style was, like, the one thing they had going for it, and then the animation quality just jumps off a cliff. It's a shame. I don't really know what went wrong there. I imagine there was some, upper management tomfoolery that led to Uzumaki failing in the way that it did. But it's really sad because I think if you've seen the trailers for it, or if you've watched the first episode, it had the potential to, I think, change how an anime can be done. Genuinely. Like, it isn't every day that we get something that tries to mimic the art style of a manga one for one. And that's a little bit of a stretch for Uzumaki because they obviously had to take some liberties to make it work in motion, as opposed to just being on a flat stationary image. But they nailed it. They had the recipe. They had it in their hands, and they absolutely fumbled the bag.
Yeah, that always sucks when
Yeah.
something you love so much just falls apart.
It's not even that. They had the secret sauce. They had the key to the city. They had the next best thing, and they absolutely messed up. It's a shame.
Yeah, that's why you just gotta pick a... Well, I guess it's not up to the mangaka to pick the studio, but if they had a say, I'm sure that they would not have wanted it to go to who it went to.
It's not the first time Junji Ito's works have been adapted to anime. There was an anime, like, anthology series, I think, a few years back. That kind of did an episode by episode structured, like, this is this short story, next episode is this short story.
Kind of like
Pretty sure I watched that.
Yeah.
like Star Wars Visions is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
In the anime quality wasn't amazing, but it was serviceable because at the very least, you were still getting Junji Ito's works in a manner that they were meant to be presented in, rather than chapters 1 through 5 are all happening at the same time.
Yeah. I did watch it. It was called Junji Ito Maniac, Japanese Tales of the Macabre. It came out in 2023.
That's
So last year.
Last year.
2 years
Oh,
ago.
Yeah,
sorry,
It is now
Bro,
2025.
That's crazy. I didn't really get to say this, so I'll just mention it real quick before passing off to to Jay's next example. I think that I think I guess I did say this, but I want to just make it really clear that I think there's value in honoring the original creator or team's vision in something, and enhancing it over doing something new just in general. Like I said, I thought that was like a me thing, but you guys clearly seem to agree.
Yeah.
I've never understood people who want to like make something new out of a IP instead of just making something new. Like, I guess I have the... Sorry, Jay. I gotta take a quick dip off the path here.
No, it's okay.
The Death Note live action that was on Netflix a couple years back. Why didn't they just do a Death Note live action, kind of similar how One Piece handled it? Instead of like doing that and adding some things here and there to like put their own twist on it, they completely changed like the structure of how the story goes, while keeping just some of the key characters. If that's what you wanted to do, just go make a cop show. Like, go make something. Make your own characters.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be infinitely more enjoyable. Hot take. I don't even think the Death Note live action was that bad. I just think it was bad because it was supposed to be Death Note, and it really wasn't.
Yeah, they could have called it Death Note and then added a semicolon and put, Tales of Detective L or whatever, some crazy thing
it
to describe what it was.
Been in the universe, I guess. That would also be a pretty solid solution. It was just the fact that they touted it like, this is Light, this is L, this is their story, and then they completely go off the rails with it.
Did they have the potato chip scene or no?
I don't think so.
Okay,
they might have, but
already,
I don't think so.
If they didn't have that, then it's
been a
not
while.
Death Note. So
Yeah, understandable. Me and my sister still joke about that scene all the time.
it's a good scene.
All right, Jay, you may have the reins back. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, this next one, I'm going to stick with bad. But it's kind of bad in a different sense. Like, not like in the sense of like they didn't follow the source material all the way through. It's the Full Metal Alchemist, the old one, the '03. My thing is, I think this is more of like the issue with the studio. They went too fast and didn't let like the source material come in, and they had pretty much jumped and kind of like came up with their own ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to kind of how I feel. It's like, listen, you're given the source material, like use it. Okay, you're all caught up. That's why you take like season breaks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I know, like, and like you take like I know in animation it's different kind of like the season breaks is more of like when you're doing like most of the stuff for the next upcoming season. But it's like, especially with now, I think this also changed with the way that anime works now, where it's like it kind of seems like they wanted it like out like every other like season, like say season 1 started in like the fall. They would probably like season 2 in the spring. You know what I mean? Try to get that out quickly because FMA was popular, the manga was popular, so. But now it's kind of like we kind of go like with some shows. It's like we go 2 years without seeing a second season.
Jujutsu Kaisen. Sorry, what?
Oh.
That's a part of the problem, right? I was gonna say like, I think the issue lies in people jumping the gun way too often on things.
I think so, yeah.
Instead of just waiting for it to cook and let it be finished before making something out of it. I understand something is popular in Shonen Jump, right? Like yes,
FMA is great. I loved FMA.
Yeah, FMA was amazing. First off, but like going to JJK, yes, it was popping off during its runtime in Shonen Jump. But there was really like I understand wanting to capitalize on the hype, but in doing so, they kill off a lot of the hype. Once the wait times hit for the anime, right? instead of like
Yeah.
working on the anime in the background, not announcing it to anybody. Like they could have done it like that. Like as the manga's going, just have a studio working on it, and then as soon as the manga is finished and they have everything ready, then they can release it in a regular interval, instead of like having us wait 2-3 years for the next season
Yeah.
of
It sounded
something.
like
Because at that point,
because
what's the point? Like just go read the manga.
it's like with
That's what I did with Demon Slayer.
One Punch Man, too.
Yeah,
It's
One
like
Punch Man's in like.
first season came out in what 16?
Yeah, that's a horrible offender of that for sure.
I don't even know when the second season came out. I haven't even watched the
The
second
animes
season.
are, for the most part, these animes are good. It's just a
Yeah.
problem of like,
The
again,
release schedule.
yeah, just jumping
Which,
the gun on stuff they
listen,
don't have to.
I think we're starting to get a little bit off topic, but so sticking with it's like we're getting season 3 of One Punch Man. Well, I think it's what this year or like early next year.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like the manga's been going on for years now. You've had the material for this. I highly doubt you went through however many volumes or how many chapters have been released in like whatever the 2 seasons. You have the material.
The problem with One Punch Man specifically is that it releases monthly or like bi-monthly
Monthly,
or
yeah.
something like that. It doesn't have as much material as something like JJK.
But my thing, it's more like it's been out for so long. It's just like
Yeah.
the material has built up. I understand like taking a break, but there shouldn't be
Someone
whatever,
actually
like a
just
4 or 5 year break. Let me take a look actually.
I remember someone saying, I can't, it must have been some kind of YouTuber, mentioned that Japan uses anime as a promotional material to sell
For-
copies of the volumes or like the
Yeah.
merchandise.
So
So that's
um,
probably why they do the things they do. But like, man, it just feels like a waste of potential when you do stuff like that. My Hero, like, I feel like it was doing so well, and then it went on break for like damn near 3 years, and it just killed off all hype. It wasn't 3 years, but it felt like 3 years. Like they finished up the Aries stuff, and then like we didn't see anything else My Hero for God knows how long. And even before that, there was a massive break.
They were too busy making non-canon movies
Mm-hmm.
to actually work on the show itself.
Yes, that is also a major
They
thing.
released 2 movies in a row, then half of another season or something like that, and then another movie. Like, how many movies can you make about one series? Or wait till the series is done completely and then make non-canon movies.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I actually have an adaptation that is in the middle of good and bad. If you would like me to share that one.
Go ahead.
So, I think it comes down to the type of medium they went into for the adaptation and why it's changed so much, or not changed, but cut down, I should say. But A Silent Voice is in my top 3 movies of all time. And after I found out that the movie itself was not actually everything that was in the manga, I was thinking, oh, okay, so there's better, like the manga is just better. But then I altered my way of thinking to, if they wanted to make the manga into an anime, they could have fit all that stuff in. But the reason why it was so good is because it took the most important parts of every character, and except for fucking Mashiba, he got shafted, because I'm pretty sure he has a half of a volume all on his story in the manga, but in the movie he was just introduced and he was like, yes, I want to be your friend. And then at the end of the movie he was like, I really thought I was your friend, and then he's like, oh wait, guess what, I am your friend again. Whatever, tangent aside, that going into a movie from a manga, they did a really good job at making sure the whole theme of, self-harm and suicide and everything like that was brought into light in the movie, and they hit all the key points from the manga without straying off because they couldn't afford to stray off, or else they weren't going to be including anything meaningful. So it is a good adaptation in the sense that they took all the important stuff and put it into a 2 hour long movie, but it's also bad for the details of the story to be left out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if this was the case with a silent voice, but Spy Family will do this thing where it'll have a bunch of chapters of what is essentially just like manga filler before having an actual like plot line kick back up again. And not that those chapters are bad, because the whole point I think of Spy Family is, you know, the daily lives of these people. So you should be seeing what they're going through. I enjoy reading those chapters, but I think a lot of it comes down to these are like being serialized on a weekly or like bi-weekly or a monthly basis, and they kind of like, you know, this is their job. They have to kind of like get as much value out of their work as they can. So I think sometimes mangaka will just kind of write stuff in between the major points they actually want to hit, just to kind of like, I don't want to say meet a deadline or meet quota, but it kind of does feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, not that that necessarily means it's bad or doesn't add anything to the story, but like, man, if I gotta read one more Frankie chapter from Spy Family before I get to know Anya's mom, I'm gonna be real mad. I'm gonna be real upset.
I know nothing about that series besides watching half of the first season. So
Spy Family's amazing, man.
I like Spy Family.
All of
The first
the
season.
actual story beats, I'm fully caught up in the manga. All of the actual story beats that they hit, like actual plot threads that matter to the overall plot of the story, are phenomenal. They are super interesting, and I think the reason they're so interesting is because we have so many chapters of getting to know these characters and seeing them interact on a day-to-day basis. But man, there's so many of those chapters. Like there's an insane amount of chapters of like Anya goofing off at school or Yor messing around in the office. And it's like I love these characters, but at the same time, like, I want to know more about like the lore of the world and like what was the war about between these two countries and stuff like that.
it'd be cool if they did a sub-series where they released in between the chapters, or even just alongside them, the opposite, or not the opposite, but everything in the manga itself, the main manga, is the story of the family, and then everything in the sub-series is the lore or what you want to see outside of that. And it would just be, you know, like
Kinda
Spy
like,
Family case files or whatever. I don't know. Something like a different name.
I thought about doing that for my own manga, but in the sense of like characters. So the main plot follows, for anyone who doesn't know, Yuki and like her team and stuff like that. But there's characters that I made that I really, really like, and I want to tell their story. But there's no realistic way for me to tell their story that I came up with in full detail without going off on a tangent about that character for like so-and-so chapters. I think
Just
that
have-
style is like good for giving those characters spotlights.
Like giving them their own like series,
Yeah, like a mini
like
series
a mini
or
series,
something.
yeah. Cause like I'm pretty sure like Zoro had. Remember seeing like something like Zoro had like his own like mini series.
Ace has one.
Ace has one, yeah.
Yep.
Now I want that for every anime or manga.
That's what
Just-
light novels are for, I'm pretty sure. Like the
Yeah.
amount of light novels for stuff is kind of crazy. That's another form of adaptation, though. Like I'm pretty sure most light novels aren't written by. I guess it depends on the property and like who's writing it. Because I know there's light novels for stuff that aren't written by the original creator, but like they got the thumbs up from them. A lot of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure light novels aren't written by Araki, but they got like approval by him or something like that. Okay. Jay, what you got?
So
You got another adaptation for us?
I'm going back over to good. and I think this is it's probably landed a little bit more in your wheelhouse. Again, uh,
Logan just doesn't get a wheelhouse.
I guess I mean like I'm sorry, Logan, but like
It's fine. I
because
have my
like
own wheelhouses,
I
but
wanted to
nobody
put
knows.
stuff in it, but it was just like I know like there's something like I want to put in. I'm just like bro, like everyone's gonna say that, like you know what I mean?
For good or bad?
For both actually.
Oh, well.
Like like for
Awesome.
good, like I
See
could
if
have
we
put
agree.
Hey,
Dragon
I
Ball.
wrote Full
and
Metal
good.
Alchemist on mine, so
I have Brotherhood
Dragon
for
Ball?
good. I have Brotherhood for good.
yeah, same.
So, but then again, that kind of we kind of talked about that talking about the O3 version, where
Yeah.
it's like Brotherhood followed the manga all the way through because they had the manga done at that point.
Yeah,
And when you say Dragon Ball, do you mean the OG Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z?
Just
Or
Dragon
just
Ball in
in
general.
in general?
In
Okay.
general, they do like a pretty good job at like sticking to the source material.
That's fair. I agree.
for better or for worse in Dragon Ball's
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
Listen, whatever came out of the manga, that's not the anime's fault. That's all I'm saying. If they're taking it from the manga, that's
I'm very much anti censorship when it comes to media. I think if an author has an intent for something, there's a reason for it. So censoring it in another form of media or like in an adaptation really grinds my gears, you could say.
Yeah.
But also like I
To
don't
a
know if I
point.
gotta see tiny naked Goku. Like I think I'm
Yeah,
okay.
like-
You could censor it a little bit.
yeah.
Or
Like
fan
stuff like
service in
that.
Naruto. Like
God,
why
yeah.
why is that a thing? Why I want to know about Kurama and how he invaded Naruto's mind and body, not how Hinata is doing fucking gardening work and she's just flashing her cleavage to everybody that walks by. Come on, guys.
Do
Please.
better, guys.
Do better.
So, going back
Anyways.
so, well, not trying to get back to back on topic. My next good one, JoJo.
Thank you.
I think the anime does a great job at like captivating the art style. It's kind of like the same wheelhouse as Mob Psycho. I think the anime does a great job at like, cause like, for those who haven't read JoJo's or seen anything on JoJo's, it's got a like, it has its like its own art style, you could say.
I think it's called scratch shading is the term that you would
But like,
use
if
to
you see
describe.
something like from JoJo, like you could, it's like, at least for me, I could be like, oh shit, that's from JoJo. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's immediately recognizable.
Even like, and I think I'm not sure if this did the creator of JoJo also do Fist of the North Star, or no?
No.
Because they have like pretty
But
similar
they were.
art
It was.
styles.
I'm pretty sure it was inspired by Fist of the North Star.
Okay. But like, that's what I mean. Like, that it has such a like distinct art style, and the anime did a great job at like keeping true to the art style.
I would say it goes even beyond that. It doesn't just keep true to the art style. It keeps true to the art style and theme of like every part of JoJo's.
Yeah.
Like, I specifically wrote down on my notes JoJo's Part 4 because of the way they like capture the use of colors from the manga and like the manga's like key art and stuff and the covers
Hmm.
to like build the town of Morio in a way that like Araki kind of envisioned it in his pieces of work, in his artwork. It's amazing. I think who does I think it's the same studio that did Undead Unluck.
That does JoJo's.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job of capturing the overall aesthetic for sure.
David.
I'm gonna
David Productions,
What?
thank you.
Okay.
David
'Cause I
Production.
searched it up and then like one thing gave me David Production, another thing gave me like JoJo's photo shoot
Okay.
in like Minnesota. I'm like, well,
No, that's the one. That's the
Oh,
official
shit.
one.
I see. Oh, JoJo's photos in studio.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I
Shout
didn't know
out.
they had a Western company do it.
I mean, JoJo's might not be my wheelhouse in terms of anime, but the adaptations for
Oh, they did
JoJo's
Fire
also
Force.
go into the games, because
Mm.
all the JoJo games, even the mechanics of stands, they work in every one that I've played. Because we played a bunch of 2D JoJo games and also, what is it, Star R
All
or
Star
something?
Battle R or something like that.
Yeah, something. You're thinking of J Stars when you said All Star, but
Am
yeah,
I?
I think it's Platinum R or something
I
like
can look
that.
it up. Okay.
But
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, All Star Battle, R.
what? That's crazy, bro.
I mean, it's all made by Bandai, so like, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
So yeah, the JoJo anime is a good adaptation, and even the JoJo games are good adaptations of the source material.
Another anime adaptation that does that, like capturing the stylization of a work justice, Soul Eater. Man, I am currently going back and reading through, or not even going back, I'm reading through the manga for Soul Eater for the first time. And I watched the anime when I was really young. I want to say, like, at this point, maybe like 7, 8 years ago now. And like, everything that happens in the anime, I still remember pretty vividly as I'm reading the panels, in the manga. Like, it hits a lot of things like one for one on the note. Like, all the action panels and stuff feel straight out of the anime and vice versa. They do a great job in the anime of like capturing the same compliment with the JoJo stuff. Like, it feels like the colorization that the mangaka chooses to use in his promotional art for the story gets picked up really well by the animation team and used really well in the normal episodes. That's really all I had to say about that. It's really good.
Yeah, that reminded me of a different type of way things can get well, not a different way they can get adapted, but a callback to when I said you have to choose a good studio to adapt your anime. Switching studios can either have
A
a
good
really
or a
good
bad.
effect
Yeah.
or a really bad effect, because the example I had in mind is Haikyuu had a pretty major studio and art style in general switch. If you look at a piece of Haikyuu anime art from seasons 1 and 2, then it's going to look drastically different. I think they took over at season 3, but season 3 and 4, I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, it was after season 3. So seasons 1 through 3 are very drastically different than season 4, and you can definitely tell in the in-betweens in season 4 that they didn't have quite a good grasp on how the character movement should be, almost as if they were used to working on sort of hyper, almost like superpower anime, and they were used to creating a bunch of smears and doing all that stuff. But Haikyuu is really stylized with harsh lines and very little character movement, but movement everywhere else in the scene to make it seem more weighted.
That matters. But
Yeah, exactly. So, like, Hinata doing his slide attack and having all the black lines behind him, but he's only moving like an inch every 5 seconds. It really just makes it so much more meaningful. But in the later half of season 4, and especially in the movie, Battle for the Garbage Dump, that studio did incredible with the character expressions and making everything seem so, I don't know, just
alive.
it just felt like volleyball. Yeah, everything was moving at the
Energetic,
same
for
time,
sure.
and also fucking the art was really good. So yeah, sometimes it can take studios a while to get their footing, but another good example is Vinland Saga. Like Mappa taking over in season 2. I like the Mappa style more, but it also worked better. Mappa's style worked better for season 2 because it was much more laid back than season 1. So it just depends on the studio that it switches to. But I think if the studio is given enough time with it, they can make do. Besides Seven Deadly Sins, oh my god, that was an atrocity.
Yeah, that one.
That
not
was
good.
an
That was
atrocity. Okay,
Jesus.
that's yeah. So yeah, sometimes most of the times it
Forgot
works
about
out
that.
in the end, but sometimes it takes them 3 seasons and then it still doesn't click. So
Now that we've hit the bottom of the barrel, um,
all right, everyone say it on 3.
no, not yet, not
No,
yet.
no,
Sorry,
not yet.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Wait, like that SpongeBob meme. The Promised Neverland. All right, now we can all go crazy.
Oh,
Why did the anime just cut entire arcs? What were they thinking?
well,
Why
the
did
reason you know the reason behind it, right?
No, I actually don't.
Okay, so the reason they had to cut most of the scenes from the manga is because they couldn't depict child violence, and children that are under the age of 10, all of them were under the age of 10, but half were under the age of like 7, holding MP5s and AK-47s and
They could have
like
worked
all that
around
stuff.
it. And that doesn't
I
even
know they
matter.
could have.
They still
I know
do.
they could have.
Listen,
But
with that,
yes, I know they still do.
you
but
could
it's-
just like change it. Like you don't need to do like what One Piece did when they got localized here at the beginning.
No, don't do that. Do not do that. That is also a terrible adaptation.
But I mean, like okay,
Don't give
you can't
Sanji a lollipop. Jesus.
no, like that,
Why?
whatever. But like, listen, you can't have kids with guns. I get that. Like, give them water guns. Like,
It's a series
but that was a Japan thing.
showing
That was a-
kids
oh, I didn't say
dying,
that's a Japan
like
thing.
brutally murdered.
oh, okay, then never mind then.
Why would that
Oh.
matter? That is the most absurd, like,
Then-
censorship
Then here's what you
issue
do
ever.
then.
And I remember that
Then-
being a thing, Logan, by the way. I'm not, like, arguing against you. I remember that was, like, a major reason why they didn't want to do stuff. But, like, I don't
Yeah.
understand what was going through their head, or, like, the heads of the people, like their producers or anything. Like, what do you mean? This is what it is. You guys chose to adapt this. It's your responsibility to do justice by it.
I
Don't
think
just,
too,
like...
because like, here's my thing. I haven't read Promised Neverland. I never watched it. In the manga, does it actually like show the act happening?
I would say the anime does pretty much the same amount of justice to the act happening of the kids dying and stuff.
Because
Like,
if
it's-
anything, you could pull a like they did in Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, whereas during Order 66, especially when they killed what's her name?
Yeah, the
blue
freaking-
one.
the alien, yeah. When
Oh,
they
and
showed
they
her
killed her on
dying
Fallujah.
underneath the leaf.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're
like
talking
you could have
about.
done something like that.
For sure, and for the
But then
most
again,
part,
like,
The
you know
Promised
what I mean.
Neverland does do that. Like, a lot of the stuff is off-screen or, like, implied.
Yeah.
And when the visuals do show up, they aren't insanely gruesome. Like, I'm not talking monster levels, like, you're reading about a doctor one page and the next page is just a hard cut to some guy's guts open. It's not like that, but, like, when you take away an entire arc from a work, you take away so much build-up and, like, intent behind the characters. Like, why did they even... If that was going to be their game plan for getting around the censorship, why did they even bother? They nailed
Yeah.
the first season, and then the second season comes around and they cut, like, half the manga for no reason.
I mean, hey, I can think of another manga or anime that had a really great start and then the end was extremely shitty. Darling in the Franxx.
But that was Darling in the Franxx a manga, or was that in anime only?
I don't know.
Let's find out. No, I think it was a manga first. I'm actually crazy.
Yeah, it does have a manga. Oh my god, the art
No,
style is
no. Manga
crazy.
adaptation based on the anime.
Oh. Damn. So that means the manga's probably better.
It probably is, yeah.
Because that ending was... I know a lot of people have opinions on Sword Art Online's, well, at least the first season's
Oh, I have opinions.
ending as well, but Darling in the Franxx, I watched the whole thing and it just was so like it wasn't satisfying at all. It was basically just, you know, actually everything that has to do with mechs seems to have a really bad ending now that I'm thinking about it. Because
ended great. I don't know what you're talking
Evangelion,
about.
listen, bro, I don't know.
I think that's just a major like theme for that kind of stuff in general. Like, you know, humanity has gotten to the point of this much advancement that where do you go from here kind of vibe.
Well, that Darling in the Franxx was like a love story. The ending was unsatisfying because it didn't cap off the character relationships the way everyone would have wanted. And not in a good way where it was like, oh, you know, the whatever, for example, in any other series, the main character being like, you know what, I don't want either of you, if it's a love triangle. And he's like, or he or she or they is like, I'm gonna do my own thing. They, instead of choosing one person, like, I don't know, Darling in the Franxx was just very, it was just a bad ending.
See, if I watched the show and that was the ending, I would have been like, bro, you just wasted all my fucking time.
I think that's how a lot
Nah.
of people felt.
And then you get 1-star review. You get a
On
one
my
on my
anime list.
yes. You get a one on my anime list. How do you feel? I'm pretty good at giving grades, but like, nah, you get a 1.
So
I ain't trying to waste my time.
I'm tapped out of adaptations on my list. There is one that I know we all want to talk about, but are you guys ready to bring it up?
I have one,
Okay.
and because my thing is we can't really like gauge it yet, just because it hasn't come out yet. And
Interesting.
I'm kind of like interested to go. It the it's I don't know how to explain it. It's on you guys have probably seen it on Twitter, the Naruto like the concert.
The
You know what I'm
what?
talking about?
What do you-
Yeah.
No, I
the
don't.
orchestra.
It's
The
like
Naruto
so.
orchestra.
Thank you. Yeah, the orchestra. Where they play like scenes from the anime, and then they have a live
Yeah.
orchestra play the music for it.
I guess this would count as an adaptation, yeah. I didn't think
Like-
this is where we were going tonight.
But like my thing is like, that's like a different way of like experiencing the material. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or like the high
I can
Q
understand that,
Broadway
yeah.
show. Well, not Broadway,
Oh.
but the play.
I think that so.
I
I think you would-
understand where you're coming from because I feel the same way that you probably do about that for the like Kingdom Hearts orchestra stuff. Like
Yeah.
anytime I hear like an orchestral cover of anything from that game, I'm like, damn, that goes crazy.
Or even like even with like Star Wars. Like if I could go somewhere and just like listen to people play this music from Star Wars, I'd be in fucking heaven.
Well, yeah, they had almost the same thing as the Naruto orchestra, but it's just all Star Wars stuff, isn't it?
I believe
Maybe
it.
they did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't know
Are
they
you
had
guys
that.
also getting? Sorry, horribly off topic. Are you guys also getting ads for Swan Lake on Facebook recently?
No, I haven't.
I don't
Listen,
have a Facebook account.
I have
Yeah.
not opened
Just me.
Facebook in like a year and a half.
Okay,
That was
just
probably
me.
because of like some game that needed like Facebook.
To defend myself, I have to use Facebook for advertising the manga and the art studio and stuff. So that is why I'm on there. I don't use it for personal stuff, but I do browse through different like Facebook groups for like indie manga and like art and stuff, and in between all of that, I get like 1,000 different ads because of course I do. It's Facebook.
Yeah.
And one of the ads I've been seeing recently is for like Swan Lake coming to like Boston or something like that, and I'm like, cool, I guess. Like I don't really care, but
Well, they're just pumping a bunch of money into advertising. Maybe it's
Yeah.
a sign that you need to spend thousands of dollars on Facebook marketing for your manga.
you know what's crazy?
I mean, for the podcast.
I did try to buy ad space for Lancers way back in the day on Facebook, but they wouldn't let me because I guess the kind of card I was trying to purchase it with wouldn't go through. So it just never happened, and I never cared after that. I'm sure if I tried now, it would work, but like, because I have a different bank. But at this point, I don't care. Like, I already have my reader base, my readership.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Now that Jayden's orchestra is out of the way.
Yeah. That kind of just popped right into my head. I didn't even have that written down. I just remembered about it.
You said you have one for. Fair.
Yeah, I wrote it down. Let me freeze. I wrote it down as we were talking
I see,
because
I
it just
see.
like popped back into my. I just like remembered about it because I remember because we're the last show of the tour.
I see.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Really? When is it?
I think it starts
in the summer, right?
I think it starts in May, and then it ends in like July.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep my eye out. Could be fun. Could be fun.
Starts the May 17th. Oh no, May 18th ends.
Oh, it ends. So
It ends in
our
May.
show is May 18th.
It's already started, I believe.
Oh, what the fuck?
They have. Oh no, sorry, the 28th it starts.
February.
Starts in
Gotcha.
Indiana.
Indiana.
So yeah, we are the last show. So
Speaking of the
Well,
last.
we gotta get tickets.
yeah, I mean, let's go. We can do a meet and greet, like.
Yo, that'd be sick.
For the podcast at the Naruto Orchestra.
Yeah.
You remember
We
when
can
we
do
guys
it
talked
live.
about this like 14 episodes ago?
Like we do it live at the orchestra. We have the
Imagine they
No
let
one
us
would
do
be able to
that.
fucking hear us.
we bring on the conductor as a guest. Like, come on.
We just talk about Naruto. That you know what? Hold on. I'm getting ideas. The Naruto episode will happen at the Naruto Orchestra.
Exactly. Even if it's
I'm
like
pulling up
outside,
Ticketmaster right now.
and then we don't actually get tickets. We're just outside of the theater.
We're just
and
outside
you
the
can just hear it. You can just hear it in the
Bums
background.
outside. Yeah.
We set up just a picnic table, like one
Listen.
of those fold-out tables.
$53.
That would be so funny. How?
Wait, what?
$53 a ticket.
Yeah, that's cheap.
It's not terrible.
Bro, we
Bro,
could
we
sit
just paid $100 for the 1OK Rock
I
tickets. That's
know.
cheap.
Listen.
But like that's
We-
a whole
front row.
band as opposed to I don't know. I guess I should. There's
Dude,
no real
an
reason I
orchestra
should.
is an orchestra.
No, I know. But there's no reason
Oh,
now that I'm
never
really
mind,
saying
no.
it that I should be discriminating against the two.
We cannot sit front row. That's $300.
Huh?
I'm trying to look at lowest price. Oh, never mind. Lowest is 75.
We're so
Oh,
off
wait.
topic.
It's
Yeah, I know.
fine. It's fine, bro. It happens. You know, so I feel like some people want us to go off topic sometimes.
No, going off
Yeah.
topic is good for sure. Don't get me
Because
wrong.
then you just get a glimpse into, you know. Also, Jayden half doxed
Pretty
us
sure I
by
just
saying
heard
that ours
my-
is the last show, but
Dude, I straight up said Boston earlier. I think we're okay. I heard my cat outside
You
of
did
the
say
door just
Boston.
go. So I hope he's okay.
I don't know.
What the fuck?
Okay. So now
Should we end
let's
it on
talk
that?
about probably.
Yeah, probably because he's thinking about what our last adaptation is, right, guys?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. Poor cat
Jayden,
wasn't able to sit in.
count us down and we'll
You
say it
guys
out.
ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Jump
Force.
Tokyo Revengers. Fuck.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Boo.
We have a soundboard.
But the viewers can't hear it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Nate's recording.
I'm recording
Discord.
the OBS one. Yeah, I could totally.
Oh, damn.
I'm not. That's too much editing. So yeah, Jump Force. Jump Force blows. All right, I'm glad we had this conversation.
It had a great concept.
Where did Jump Force fail?
I don't
That
even
they
know.
tried to make anime into. They tried to make a live action adaptation in a video game. That was where they went wrong. They said, why don't we take the worst adaptation form statistically of any manga or anime in the past and then do the same for a video game? and that's how Jump Force was born.
It had such great potential. Like, I like a lot of the way the characters are represented is really cool. Like, all the Hunter x Hunter, especially the characters that up until that point hadn't had a lot of representation in video games, right? So, like, the Hunter x Hunter characters were super cool to me, at least. I like the Black Clover characters. That's really all I got.
I
Or
think
character.
it
I
had
think
to-
Asta's the only one in there.
It had a great concept. It's
It's
I
just the
don't
game
think-
wasn't fun. So,
yeah, I don't think
and it
they.
looked like crap.
Yeah, it looked so bad. I think the biggest offender is Blackbeard. Having him
Yeah.
with his mouth agape
The entire
24/7,
time.
even when he's talking, bro has his mouth over. He's
I
like,
forgot he was in the game 'cause I avoided him
and
like
his
the
mouth's
plague.
still open. It's crazy, bro. Why did they think? I think they put 90% of their funding into the
Just
particle
getting the
effects.
IPs. Oh,
Well, that too. Okay, so 50% into the IP, licensing, 40% into the the particle effects,
And 10%
and the
in his
rest,
maw. To
10%
keep his mouth
in Blackbeard's mouth. Yeah. It was, oh my god. Fucking stupid. I can't believe they botched that game. But we have some good anime video game adaptations coming up. Hopefully good, but I think Bleach Rebirth of Souls is probably going to slap, and the Hunter x Hunter
Oh my god, the
Nen
Hunter x Hunter
Impact
fighting game's gonna be so
is
good. Give
probably
it to
going to
us.
slap.
We were
I think both of those are
Oh.
going to be really good.
that should be coming out relatively soon. Because, oh, by the way, I'm
They're
really
both
into
coming
fighting
out in
games,
March,
guys.
no?
Viewers, we love fighting games. Fighting games are our bread and butter. I don't know. It got delayed, I think, but I don't know delayed
Oh.
until when. It was supposed to come out before the end of last year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But,
It says
they
summer
can take their time.
2025.
Let them cook.
Summer. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have Bleach in the meantime. That
Yeah,
releases
that game looks
March
great.
20th, I think. So, I'm
Alright.
excited for a new system.
New system. An Arc system,
Yeah.
perhaps?
No, a Bandai Namco.
My bad. Alright. Where does that leave us? Now that we've gone through every adaptation known to man, we've covered them all. There's possibly nothing else we can talk about.
well, there's one thing though. One thing we do every episode: the indie spotlight.
Oh, they're gonna say talk.
What?
Okay. Wait, you just I've gotta shout this one out, because if I don't, I feel like our buddy Aiden's gonna kill me. The other night while we're gaming, I brought out a bag of Doritos, and I was
Oh.
explaining the flavor. And after I explained the flavor, Jayden just goes wah. And for the whole night, we were just going wah, wah, wah to everything.
So, but wait, there's some context to that. So,
That was the what do you
Any-
mean? That was the
no,
context.
no, about the what? Because if, like, for
Some wah lore.
listen, if we have any people listening that watch wrestling, they'll immediately get the reference. It's for those who don't, it's a reference to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who wrestled in the '90s, and whenever like someone was trying to talk to him, like any of the heels, he'd just be like, "What? What?"
Yeah, fair. But you didn't even finish the what. You just said wah. Like Wario. It was an incredible moment. Before the indie spotlight, we did skip over this, so I do want to hit some current series, like stuff currently going on in Shonen Jump.
Oh yeah.
We had some major cancellations this week. Some like real sad stuff.
I didn't even see the news this week for Shonen Jump, which is crazy. It's normally like on my feed on Twitter. But.
Did we actually? What did I talk about last week? Was that SKK Girls or was that the first episode?
I
Can't
don't
remember.
remember.
I can't remember either, and that scares me.
Oh, maybe last week you talked about Undead Unluck.
Yes, thank
I
you.
don't know.
Okay, yep, because it ended.
Yeah.
These ended prematurely. So, first off, Hakutaku, by Koki Ishikawa was canceled, and that was, I know I've mentioned it to Logan before, that was the game dev manga. That one sucked to
Oh.
loss. To loss? Like the meme. That one sucked to lose because that was a really. I really liked it. I thought it had insane potential. Um, the characters were really interesting, and the way the art style was presented was really cool. They kind of nailed the like the the way Haikyuu will like spotlight a character when they're thinking something, or like a character having a major character moment. They had that same kind of sauce to their paneling in Hakutaku, and I'm really sad to see that go. I really hope that mangaka comes back, or like they ended it in an interesting way. Usually when a series ends prematurely in Shonen Jump, they'll spend the last chapter or two blurting out everything about the series that they had planned, pretty much just like expediting the hell out of the series to get as much of like to be like, hey, this is what could have happened, kind of. This is what could have been. But for Hakutaku, they kind of like end the arc they were on and start to begin the next arc, and leave the door open for it coming back in the future. I really hope that happens, even if it's outside of Shonen Jump. Shonen Jump. Listen, I know you'll never hear me speak, but if you could just do one thing for me,
Or understand.
just let artists. Oh yeah, I know, right? Just let artists have the rights to their stories if you're no longer publishing them. Let them do whatever the hell they want with it. I understand that being a solo, trust me, no one knows more than I do about being an indie manga guy, but like it's not impossible to go off and do stuff on your own. Like just let them cook, let them do their thing with their series. They put so much work into it. It's like basically their entire lives. Like their hopes and dreams. They're doing this because they want to. Let them tell their story. It is so sad to see something like that go. Another sad one to see go. No Name. Do either of you know what No Name is?
No.
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 This one was a massive shocker to me. It is the manga by Raphael Yaki, the Cyberpunk Edgerunners guy.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah. And it was pretty good. I don't.
Well, yeah, Edgerunners was really good. So
Yeah, I don't think it. I didn't think it was amazing, but I was still reading it week to week. Like I thought it was fun. It was kind of like Psychopaths, but the names kind of gave them powers. Like you know how like names in real life will just have like meaning.
yeah,
Uh,
like Karens.
okay, that's not.
What? How? That's like the quintessential thing, though. No.
Shut up. I meant like, you know, if a name means like, I can't think of a fucking example now because you completely threw it off.
Oh, you're talking about like, oh, I named my child Jade because
Yes,
I
like
wanted
the
them to be
emerald or
prosperous, or
Yes,
yeah, I got
something
you.
like that. It's like that, but it gives them actual supernatural powers. Like there's an entire, for example, there's like entire ones based on animals. So like, there's like a bear root name that like can give different bear powers depending on the spelling of it. So like, there's like a big bear fight night arena thing, underground fighting arena, that they pit different bear powers against one another. It was really well done. I think it didn't have enough time to cook, like at all. Shonen Jump jumped the gun way too fucking soon on this. It was supposed to be a slow burn. You could tell it was supposed to be a slow burn, but they just like, I don't know. It's crazy. I understand they only have so many slots, right, in their magazine, but like at the same time, it's hard to argue that they weren't pulling in the right numbers for stuff when you have other series that have been going on for like hundreds and hundreds of chapters that are pulling like half of what that new series was pulling. It's sad to see happen.
I kind of think Shonen Jump is just trying to find their next big thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
The
I
golden
understand
child.
they have to because they're a major company,
Let me
right?
rephrase that.
But like,
The next big three.
yeah, but at the same time, they have an opportunity to like, they are in the forefront of this industry.
Yeah.
I feel like it's their responsibility to nurture younger creators and like, you know, you don't get the next big three if you don't like let people grow and become the next big three. Like,
Mhm.
Toriyama's first work wasn't Dragon Ball. It was Dr. Slump. And even before
Yeah.
that, I don't even know if that was his first work. Like, he worked on stuff before he got to that point. You can't just, like, expect someone to write gold immediately right out the gate. It's sad. They do a system where, for the most part, where they'll have, like, contests where you submit, like, one-offs and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's... I've always been of the opinion that's a terrible way to gauge someone's ability in storytelling. Because, like, you can write a good one-shot, but that doesn't mean you can tell a good long-form story.
Yeah.
Well. Oh, yeah, Spy Family this week was super short. I have a note for that. I don't know what was up with that. We've been having pretty long breaks in Spy Family. We got a major reveal again this week, but it was like literally like a 5-page chapter. It was really weird.
Yikes.
Yeah. Hopefully that mangaka's doing okay. For all the shit I gave it earlier, I do like Spy Family. Okay. With all that word vomit out of the way, it is time for our indie spotlight. I've got a banger for you guys today. This one is a personal favorite of mine.
Okay.
I also have some screenshots I'm going to share with you guys in the Discord to kind of like lead you through the discussion of this one. It is called Satellite Elka. It is, you can find this on Manga Plus Creators, as with most of our indie recommends. It is published under the creator Marumei, Marumei. Had to double check in my head that I spelled that right as I'm reading it off the page. There are 2 chapters out right now. And the last chapter came out a little bit ago, like I think maybe half a year ago or so at this point, maybe a couple months ago. So it's been a little bit, but that's just kind of how it is with indie manga. It's not like we have like an infinite amount of funding and time to just pour into this stuff. So chapters tend to have long in between. But Satellite Elka is one of the most surreal things I've ever read in my life. I just posted, and the things I'm sharing in the Discord, I'll be putting on the visual format for our visual viewers, our YouTube viewers.
Is that what, the cover?
That is the cover of the first chapter, yes.
That actually looks nice.
You got pocket
It is-
legs.
Pocket legs. It has a very surreal vibe to it. The first time reading it, I hate to be spoiling some pages, honestly, but like I can't explain it without spoiling some pages. It is so bizarre. There are pages that are like just words, and then there's page turns that just have like hyper realistic stuff going on out of nowhere. And the story it's telling, at least right now within the first 2 chapters, is damn near incomprehensible. But it's so interesting to read through and like try to make sense of it as you're going through. And there's a plot there for sure. I'm just too fucking stupid to piece it together myself. But I know I like it.
Let's make that an episode.
I'm trying to piece together the
Satellite
madness of
Elka.
this one. I would love to. It's just hard to make an episode out of something that has 2 chapters. You feel me? Like,
Well,
I definitely
that was a joke, but
No, I think that's a good idea. I would love to revisit a lot of these indie spotlights in the future or something, and like kind of give them a fair shake, like a whole episode dedicated to them, because I think a lot of these are really well done. Like you guys are looking at these aren't, amateur works. There's a lot of intent and detail put into some of these panels. And you don't get stuff like this in Shonen Jump. Like, you just don't. There's a lot of, like, pussyfooting, or for a lack of a better term, around editors, and, like, having to kind of accommodate to whatever's popular at the time. But it's nice to see that at least on the indie side of things, you're able to get these kinds of like experimental, surreal stories that maybe they aren't really trying to tell a deeper thing, like a deeper meaning or anything like that, but they're still intriguing nonetheless to read through and try to come up with your own meaning, even if there isn't one. It also helps that the English in this is like broken, and I honestly can't tell if it's on purpose or if it's because they tried their best at translating it and they couldn't. But like it works really well just because of the way the manga presents itself. So this is a fun one. I recommend any listeners out there take a read on this. I recommend you two read this, honestly. Again, it's only two chapters. Yeah, it's a very quick read.
Oh, it's only 2 chapters. Let's say put on the list.
We'll talk about it next time. How's about that?
Yeah.
All right.
Jay, this is your episode. I'll let you lead out.
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting to close out the episode, but okay then.
You're the host. What?
I know I'm the host.
Wait, we gotta do our segment of picking the next one.
Dude,
It's
I have
your turn,
cut
Nate.
that every time.
Oh.
And now that I said that, this is the episode I'm gonna decide not to cut it.
Oh,
So-
okay, wow. So it's your pick. You gotta pick the
Oh,
next
it's
one.
my pick. I just realized
Yeah.
that.
Back to Nate.
Oh, okay. Back to me. What are we gonna do next time, guys?
I'm gonna actually pull it up.
What could we discuss in the next episode? Let's talk about world building. You tossed it to the writer. We're doing writing stuff.
Alright, I won't be on next week's list.
And I'm not showing up next week. God, I always highlight in the Google Doc with the highlight function instead, or like the font color change instead of the actual highlight.
Yeah.
And then I always hit the awful blue instead of the blue we used to show what we're doing next.
Oh, why is Jayden's fucking thing labeled as anonymous cormorant?
You're an anonymous capybara, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
What?
autonomous capybara. I'm logged in.
What?
Are you logged in?
I'm logged in too.
That's kind of
I'm
funny.
logged in.
I see Nate.
That's crazy.
But you're-
I see Nate too.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys are
Oh,
anonymous,
it's
that's why.
because
I
I
didn't
think
share
it's because
permissions
you
with
shared
you guys.
it. Yeah.
I just shared
I
the
was gonna
link.
say. Well, how come I can highlight it though?
Because anyone with the link can edit.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Yeah. Well, that was a little bit of a clusterfuck, but we're leaving it in. So yes, next time is how to world build and how not to world build. It'll be a good writing one. I think that one is a good one for me to host
To lead,
anyways.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be fun. All right. Without further ado, Jay, is there anything you'd like to leave the listener and/or viewer off with?
Bro's about to
Just-
say reader.
It was.
Listen, if anything, from what I've learned from, the 3rd episode?
Yes.
There is so much. It could be very hard to get into, but you just gotta, once you get one little piece, I think you'll be hooked with just reading or
Okay,
reading
you
manga
told
or watching anime.
I was-
Because I think
Dude,
I
you
just-
should have said this in the first episode.
I know, but I think it's more like, hey, maybe listen, maybe
I
our
thought-
viewers, maybe they want to get into it, they're not sure, they need like a little bit of motivation. Maybe they want to learn a little bit about it, a little bit more, not just our first 2 episodes. Maybe this is the episode, like, okay, maybe I want to get into it. Just do it. Like, come on. Oh shit, oh, we're gonna get hit by
Just
copyright.
do
Oh
it.
no.
Bro, I
Yeah.
just wanted you to tell them to have a good. I didn't ask.
Yeah,
I didn't know
you
I
know
was
what?
getting like the whole.
Well,
I didn't know this
You know
was the
what?
final
Hey.
moments, bro.
You know what else?
what?
Have a good.
Yeah, everyone, have a
Have
good.
a good. Have a good.